All right, we've talked about all the players. We've discussed the general manager all season this week, as well as we talked about the season coming to an end. It's time to get to the head coach because he's coming back as well. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers Podcast on a Thursday. This week is going by pretty fast as we have started to get to...
Because we're not watching Sixers basketball anymore, buddy.
Our new normal.
It's like
here.
A weight has been lifted off of everyone's shoulders, right?
It's a new normal here for them. Just for this season, though. Just for this season, this offseason. And hopefully they get back to the regularly scheduled playoffs participation next season and beyond. Derek Bodner, Kyle Newbeck, Devon Givens, Bree producing, all of you in the chat hanging out. It's beautiful outside today as we get ready to talk about the head coach and looking at Nick Nurse in his first two seasons. And he's dealt with, as the head coach, he's not been injured, but his team has been injured a lot. The disappointment of ending up a first-round matchup in a play-in situation where they faced off against the New York Knicks. They fall in that one where we question some of the things that he did and didn't do, although the officials, we got on them as well, at least for that one. Then you get to this season where they have the bang-up offseason, adding Paul George, Caleb Martin, and so on and so forth with putting this roster together. And instead of getting ready for the playoffs to start this weekend, they're getting ready for the NBA draft lottery for May 12th. And that is a huge disappointment. He has been in charge of it again this season. A lot has happened, once again with injuries, but also some of the things that we picked at him during the season as well. Most notably for me, I'll at least start it off before I throw it to Derek and Kyle, is when we got everything that we did in the offseason and we went to training camp and we heard everything that they discussed, we knew that Joel Embiid, because they told us, was going to miss a certain amount of games, no back-to-backs. He was going to miss some other games just because that's what happens with Joel Embiid. So therefore, you have all these different lineups that you have talent, and you look at Tyrese Maxey, that's going to be a lead offense. You look at Tyrese Maxey and Paul George, that's going to be another offense. Paul George misses a game. Joel Embiid comes back. We've seen the Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid offense. They were supposed to have 4 to 5 different versions of the offense. Now, continuity, all of that stuff, I get it. But he was still in charge of it. So as Derek, as we start this one off, and critiquing him last year was one thing, making it to the playoffs and how they fared in the first round. But also critiquing him this year with the loaded roster that we thought. 24 wins only. He's in charge of all of it. 82 games. 54 different starting lineups for this basketball team. And I don't know how many players that they added on 10 days and
a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And all of that. So he had to deal with that stuff, but he's still a guy that has a championship. He has a really good reputation. He's paid handsomely for the job that he's supposed to do to make sure that these players are prepared. We've even given Rivers credit for having a banged-up lineup ready to play out there on any given night, where we didn't start to give some of that until the very end, where we knew everybody was out and the goal was pretty different at the end of the season. How do you look at year 2 for Nick Nurse? Knowing that he's coming back, what does he need to do to also improve next year where he doesn't have to worry about his job security?
Yeah. Well, in reality, the only way you can not worry about your job security as an NBA head coach is to win a title that year. And that's about all the good grace that buys you. Outside of that, pretty much everyone else, given recent events, should probably be worried about their job security. I think Kyle brought it up, like, the 3 longest tenured coaches, like the 3rd longest tenured started in like 2021 or something like that. It's just not
it's Pop, Spo, I can't remember the 3rd, and then it's Tibbs, who started in 2020, which is just insane.
So, yeah, you should probably always be worried. Worry about everything, panic about nothing. That being said, like, it is, you brought up everything. The 54 starting lineups, which is still just wild to hear. I think the most starting lineups of a process team was like 35 or something like that, and that team wasn't even trying to win. Here, all of the 10 days, all of the injuries, all of the Daryl Morey brought up like 120 or whatever games missed by your All-Stars, and the next highest team was, I think, 50, according to him. I didn't double-check that. Most of when I was really frustrated with Nick Nurse is when this season still mattered. It was early on. It was November. It was December. It did not seem like, they had a cohesive strategy for when Joel Embiid was out of the lineup. And it just did not seem like there was any kind of offensive creativity, any kind of real movement, any kind of real system, other than a little bit of like, all right, we'll do the dribble, handoff, weave, and like go try to attack someone. And that was a lot of where my frustrations came. When you're coming down a stretch and you win like 4 of the last 30 games or whatever godforsaken number it ended up being, I don't blame him for that too much. In fact, I give him a little bit of credit because, A, it seemed like the ball movement and the creativity was a little bit better.
Yeah.
And B, the teams they were playing hard. They just didn't have the talent to win. But November and December, the way they came out, the sort of like principles they had after having a summer, because it's not like, 2 years ago, you give them a little bit of a pass because a Harden thing happened. There was so much uncertainty. It was hard to really plan for. They had Paul George pretty much the entire summer. Or at least they knew they had Paul George. It didn't seem like there was any kind of real thought. Like the offense just seemed a lot more stagnant, a lot less creative than the previous year, and that should have never been the case.
Yeah, and look, to frame this through the lens that we titled the show, right? Like, how short of a leash is Nick Nurse on? There are two sides of this conversation. On the one hand, we have brought up many times, Daryl Morey, publicly, privately, everywhere, is very insistent on this idea that he stands by, which is if he hires a head coach, he gives that guy 4 years and stands by them. So through the ups and downs, if it's a coach of the year campaign, if it's a year like they had this year, he's going to see that 4 years out. It's his guy. He purposefully hired Nick Nurse, like he's purposefully hired other head coaches in the past. And he believes, just the same way that he would want an owner to stand by him, that it matters for his reputation and for like his relationship with coaches, which is a very important relationship in an organization, that he has to give them at least that amount of time. And so on the one hand, I would say it's pretty damn unlikely that we would see a mid-season change next year unless something goes drastically wrong.
Well, good news. That never happens in this town.
On the other hand, if you just look at the league environment right now, it has never been worse. And I wouldn't even just say the league. I would say professional sports in general. I don't know that there's ever been a worse environment for coaches that are under fire, right? For guys that have a bad year and a half, whatever it is. If you are not constantly on the upward slope, there are just so many methods through which you can end up losing your job, right? Like the dirty side of the league is that there are pressure campaigns that happen while you're in the job. Certainly after the job, you always see it, right? Someone loses their job and within 20 minutes, oh man, this story materializes on every piece of dirty laundry that everyone knew between head coach and GM, coach and the best player, coach and the bench players. And you look at what has happened at the end of this season. Mike Malone, only title winner ever in Denver, just became their franchise leader in wins all time, loses his job in the last week of the regular season. Mike Brown was at the helm of really the only successful Kings season in 2 decades, has about a year and a couple months, 2-3 months of struggles, and they end up firing him before they're able to get back from a flight, right? Or before they get on the team plane. I can't remember what the sequence of events was. Taylor Jenkins has overseen this Grizzlies team. They had their best period of success since the grit and grind teams, right? And oversees Ja becoming a really good player. Jaren Jackson gets the best out of Dylan Brooks. Desmond Bane has a really good few years under his watch. And because there's a disconnect between him and the front office, and because, as we're going to get to with Nick Nurse, there are some assistant coaching changes made that were not necessarily Jenkins' choices, that leads to friction. So there are a lot of things that happen that are not just like, these are the results on the floor, or, the things that you directly control, or at least that the fans can see, right? It's a hodgepodge of so many different things. You really are, they use this term in the NFL more, you really are like a CEO, where you just have to, your hand has to be in so many different things. You have to delegate responsibility. You have to shake hands, kiss babies, do the right things. Oh, and also draw up the game plan and figure out who to trust and build relationships. And so there are 100 different ways things could go wrong. So while I do think that even in a bad season next year, that Daryl would stand by Nick Nurse and it's more likely they go down together, I think if you're Nick, you have to be looking around like, my job is definitely not for sure safe next year.
I also add the Suns with all the turnover.
That's right.
That
I wasn't even thinking of because I think I've grown used to the Suns just fire their coach every
that's
year.
Baked into
so I didn't even think to bring it up, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, but
because those are well respected coaches that they've Monty had his spell in Detroit.
Well, at least 2 championship coaches and 1 in Phoenix with Monty getting them to the finals.
So Monty has a good track record there, loses his job. They bring in Frank Vogel, who, as you point out, not only won a championship, but historically he's been a very good defensive coach if he's got limitations. They fire him, and it's like, okay, you get Budenholzer. Oh, that doesn't work either. And so these are not guys who are just like brain dead coaches, right? These are a lot of these guys that have lost their job are at the very least like above average coaches in NBA terms. So Nick Nurse, you won a title. Yeah, you have a pretty good resume and are well respected around the league, but I don't think that's buying you unlimited time or anything close to it.
NBA has been pretty clear that winning a title 6 years ago does not buy you job security anymore. It's just a fact of life. And
even like Coach of the Year stuff, when Dwayne Casey wins Coach of the Year and then he's fired immediately. And for Nick Nurse taking over there in Toronto.
And it's not only like the state that we're in and how much of that is related to social media and how much of that, there's a lot of, I think, pressure amplified by everyone having a microphone and all of these constant 24/7 sports talks and people like us sitting here talking about sports constantly. But it's also just, this is a team in the Sixers who are, after the luxury tax, are going to cost $200 million next year. That comes with expectations. Yeah. And they're falling way short of expectations. Clearly, mentioned it before, but out of all the projected 50-win teams over the last 25 years, they won the fewest games. You cannot do that 2 years in a row and expect to keep your job. It's just the reality of where we're at.
No, I think the questions were fair even during the season where we were wondering, is he going to be safe? Is he on the hot seat? I think we had titled that particular show because they had the blow up there in Denver after the big blowout loss that they had to have the team meeting and all of that. He goes nuts. The reporters reporting. You can hear him screaming through the walls because
being ripped off the walls, right? Screaming.
Yeah, so you can see, you hear about that. Then there's a second meeting overall. You see how they're playing on the floor, and you're just simply wondering. And you guys are around it, of course, on a daily basis when they're at home and all, and being at the practices. But how has he lost the locker room yet? What's going on? Why is Joel Embiid? Yes, he's dealing with the knee stuff, but why is he not playing the way that you thought? And what's going on with Paul George? Yes, the injuries. Again, you don't want to continue to lean on the injuries, but does the coach have something to do with this? And the big part of that is certainly about just dribble handoffs and things of that nature that we all have seen for many, many years. Yes, Joel Embiid likes it, but you have added a different collection of talent around him to do different things. Because you have better talent that's not 12, with all due respect, where you have Paul George and you have Tyrese Maxey going into year number 5 as an all-star.
I love how committed you are to the 12.
Yeah. I did say his name the other day just for one purpose, but, it is.
We do have our own T. Harris.
Yes, we do.
We also have our own 12 in Jared Butler.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So yeah, man, just to see that the offense where you do have 30 games of Maxey, whatever it was, 32 games of Maxey and George out there on the floor. The fact that you only had 19 in total of Joel Embiid and then 15 of all 3 of them on the floor together, we still should have saw a better version of offense when at least Maxey and George were out there together. That the offense just was not. We saw different stuff when it was geared towards Quentin Grimes. You had to put some different things in there, and how it all looked. It looked completely different, as Derek said, that it wasn't just the dribble handoff stuff. Yes, that's a part of it. And you saw Dembona growing in the role that he had with the ball fake and taking it to the basket. You saw some of the different screens and some other things, some actions going back door, cutting towards the middle of the floor. That you had with lesser personnel, but it was the creativity that Derek talked about. So on the other side, let's talk about what they didn't do with at least start off with the Maxey and George duo of what was not there on the floor when we saw them for the 30-plus games. We'll tap into that, tap into more of what Nurse has to do going forward in order to, as we said, he may be safe, but he's not really that safe. We'll tap into it all when we get back on the other side right here on the PHLY Sixers Podcast on a Thursday.
And guys, we're coming up on summertime pretty soon. Or I guess not that soon. I'm so used to it being as soon as the Sixers playoff run is over, it's like summer is right there. It's mid-April.
It should be June right now, but it's
spring,
not.
Right?
Yes.
But whatever season it is, our friends at Shady Rays are helping you get in the right frame of mind with their premium polarized shades that will not break the bank. Shady Rays has durable frames on their shades, crystal clear optics. They are the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. We're past the skiing and snowboarding season, but just in case you guys are, maybe you want to get an early Christmas gift for somebody, or you're a planner, you're looking ahead. They also have a collection of snow goggles to help you see clearly and look good on the slopes. But guys, I know you're more in the mindset right now of, I'm thinking about my beach body, right? I'm thinking about my beach look, right? You want to look stylish. If you're at the pool, you're at a day party, you're at a barbecue, whatever it might be, Shady Rays has you covered, and you can find a pair that's perfect for you. Plus, if your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, you don't have to sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear, every pair backed by lost or broken replacements. And if you don't love your shades, you can exchange them for a new pair or return them worry-free within 30 days. No risk shopping with Shady Rays. PHLY viewers and listeners, go to shadyrays.com. Save 35% off of polarized sunglasses with the code PHLY. Over 300,000 people have rated Shady Rays 5 stars. So use PHLY today. That's the code at shadyrays.com.
And with that weather turning, maybe you want to get some things done to your home and you want to make sure your flooring is correct after you take care of whatever you need with the walls and the stairs and all. The flooring has to be right. And Empire Today has you covered with that flooring. Just like your favorite team needs a home court or field or rink, ice rink, overall advantage, you need a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can get the help that you need. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals whose focus on flooring every single day, not just someone coming in that one day they were focused on a different part of maybe some plumbing or maybe some gardening, and then they're just helping you out with the flooring section. No, they are dedicated to helping you as the flooring professionals to find the things that you need. You've all been in these big box stores, you wandered the endless aisles, and then again, you're hauling off all these materials looking for an installer and coordinate everything for yourself, and it just didn't necessarily work out all that great for you. Their flooring experts bring the showroom right to your home. You pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space. See how it looks with your furniture in your house. Yes, in your house. And you get precise measurements taken and have all your questions answered, so there are no surprises there. Schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. PHLY listeners can get a $350 discount when you use promo code PHLY. Yes, you heard that correctly. A $350 discount with code PHLY. Restrictions do apply. Visit EmpireToday.com/PHLY for full details. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers Podcast. And Kyle, the 30-plus games that Maxey and George played together, a lot of them, of course, weren't consecutively because one was in and out of the lineup, mostly George during that time. But I always just simply go back to that introductory press conference where he spoke about not having Embiid, being stuck in the middle of the floor, relying too much on him for the one-on-one situations. George mentioning how he and Nurse needed to talk during the offseason to focus on what they needed to do to make sure things were right with how he likes to do things, Maxey likes to do things, and Embiid when he's out there. But again, having these different versions of offense, what didn't you like about, let's at least say, when those two were out there on the floor together? It didn't result in wins, but just in general, when you talk about offensive things, what didn't you like?
So I always come back to the teams that have stars that don't succeed, that lose the way maybe not the way the Sixers did, because this was a special amount of losing for the name brand talent that they have. It never quite feels like the stars are playing a synergistic style, right? There are moments of individual brilliance, and frankly, it was mostly from Tyrese Maxey or Jared McCain. But even when those are happening, it doesn't feel like, oh, Paul George is benefiting from this, or vice versa, right? Like when Paul George had his odd good game here and there, it never felt like it was like, okay, defense has turned on to Paul, and Paul and Tyrese are weaponizing that in a way that is really hurting the other team. And it just turns into, it's like having a band where you have a singer and then just two guitar players. And it's like, okay, it's nice to have those two guitar players, but also it'd probably be better to have a drummer, or it'd probably be better to have a bass player or somebody who does something different, because Paul George, when he had his moments of success, it wasn't the way we thought it would be coming into the year, right? Where we thought this is an off-ball weapon. This is a guy you can move around the floor. He's a prolific catch and shoot guy, someone that maybe he's not JJ Redick, but you bring him off of screens. You can put him in different spots, use him as a pick and pop player, use him on those flare screen plays and this and that. And I don't think that vision ever really came to fruition. I think it was a lot more of, well, Paul hasn't been involved in a while. Let's give him the ball and let's let him run a pick and roll or a dribble handoff with somebody. And then he just defaults into an ISO against the guy who at the time, he's not able to get by anymore, or at least at that time, he's not able to dribble past anybody. So I think the issue is there wasn't any purposeful design other than let's get these guys the ball and let them attack. And I do think that, one, that's not a style that I necessarily disagree with when you have a high level core like they do. And like that's the Mike D'Antoni belief, right? Like you don't want to dress it up with all the bells and whistles when you have high-end offensive talent. You put them in simple actions and make the reads simple and say, we believe in you and your talent to make something happen. And I think you could still apply that to, if Joel's health was normal, you'd apply that to him. I think certainly you apply it to Tyrese Maxey, right? He needs some help, but you don't need to run him through like a gauntlet of screens or have a super complicated offense. I think what they should have learned from this season, and I hope that Nick Nurse and his staff internalized, is that Paul George does need more help at this point. He is not somebody that, to go back to the D'Antoni analogy, it's not like prime James Harden in Houston where it's like, okay, I'm going to run this guy through 5 pick and rolls in a row and just he's going to pick the defense apart. He'll either break this guy down off the dribble, find the corner shooter, or he's going to get fouled. Like that's not Paul George. It hasn't been Paul George for, frankly, basically ever, but certainly for multiple years now, that's not been his game. So I think the biggest disappointment was that he treated Paul George similar to Tyrese Maxey in terms of what he was going to run and what he could do. And that was a big mistake because Paul, number one, the skill set is different, but Paul just needs a little more help to be the best version of himself. And I didn't see that at any point this season. And as Derek brought up in the first segment, I think the biggest issue I had with that was that we knew for a fact coming into the year, Joel was going to play less games. We didn't know it was going to be the 19 games and that the knee was going to be this much of a disaster. They publicized that there were stories, they're basically like PR stories coming out in the offseason, like, hey, Joel's not playing back-to-backs. We're going to be really deliberate with our resting plan and all that. So Nick Nurse knew coming into the year, there's got to be an individualized plan for Paul George and for the Paul George Maxey thing. And it just felt like it was all one styleless plan that just never came off.
Yeah. You brought up basically the overall effectiveness of the lineups with both of them in there. It was about a league average offense, right? 57th percentile. And the thing with that is, so you might think, all right, well, but Maxey and George had down years shooting. Maybe it's just a shooting variance thing. Actually not. When those two were on the floor, Maxey shot 39.3% from three and George shot 42.5% from three. It's when they were operating as a solo star that those numbers absolutely torpedoed. So they were a league average offense with those two on the floor together and both of them shooting exceptionally well from 3-point range. And it's just like you don't get the free throw line a ton with those guys. You don't really get out in transition with that group. You don't, in part because you can't defend and or rebound, especially when Joel's not there. you just don't really create any advantages in any meaningful kind of way. And to Kyle's point, which I sort of mentioned at the top, it just very much felt like, all right, it's Tyrese's turn. All right, now it's Paul hasn't touched the ball a little bit. Let's get him a post up, or let's give him a little bit, create off the dribble, create off the pick and roll. It never seemed like there was any kind of cohesion. And certainly it was never at the point where they actually felt like they were playing off of each other and could anticipate what the other one was going to do and what the other person needed. Part of that is time, sure, but there just, like I said at the beginning, there just was no creativity for the first couple months of the season, and they never really, I think to Kyle's point, they played it like you had 27-year-old Paul George. Like maybe something like Boston plays at now. You can't play pick to bozo when Paul George can't beat anyone off the dribble with his first step, and they never really adjusted.
So is that where they now, obviously they have to do some things in the offseason to get creative there, and we'll talk about the coaches and all and how that might look going forward. But is that something when you look at Nick Nurse and you feel comfortable with him making those adjustments and devising up some different stuff from the Toronto years? And I know how you both felt where he wasn't like, I'm super excited to see Nick Nurse come in here. Yeah, he has the championship that he won in Toronto, but it wasn't like knock your socks off type of hire. So the creativity, do you expect that from him going forward with this? He had Kawhi Leonard, he had Kyle Lowry and Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet, where there was a lot of different stuff going on there where a lot of players needed the basketball and they made it work. How come he can't make that work here? And well, you need to be on the floor, but you have to make it work.
They did, but like when you watch the last 3 or 4 years at Toronto, it looked a lot like it does now.
Sure.
Where it is just ISO. You've got, OG creating out of pick and rolls. You've got Siakam trying to ISO. You've just got a lot of all right players, but you're not really doing much to try to create an advantage for them. And it really felt like late stage Toronto here in Philadelphia this year.
What I would say is that good offense does not need to be overly complicated, right? Nobody is asking whether it's Nick Nurse or anybody else to come in here and like reinvent how basketball is played. And I do think this is, when Nick Nurse was hired and leading into it, you guys can go find these yourselves on YouTube, but there are extensive, like hours long coaching clinics that Nurse has done either in the States or overseas, like talking about his beliefs in basketball and like how the game should be played. And it very much is reflected in the offense that they run. He wants to run a 0.5 decision-making offense. If you're not taking a shot, you either need to be passing the ball or you need to be dribbling, trying to get to the rim to then create more decisions from the defense. And then it's the same decision. If you're not shooting at the rim, you're passing the ball. You're making a quick choice and you're saying, we're going to recycle it. We're going to put this team in rotation. And eventually, over the course of 24 seconds, if you play fast and you get through these cycles quickly enough, the defense will break down. It's hard to play good connected defense. You will get a good shot and you have to take advantage of it when it's there. And that, like at its core, that's what this offense is, right? You come off of the dribble handoff. You see what the defense is giving you, right? Are they falling back toward the rim? Are they playing up to high head you or trap you and get the ball out of your hands? That's not fun to deal with, but that's actually a good thing with the way they want to play, right? You get trapped, there's an open guy, and then that creates a 4-on-3. That creates advantages. Like that. That's the mission of this offense, is to create the man advantage and to get the open shot wherever it might come from. Now, there are also some changes where when Doc Rivers was here, his thing around Joel was, I want the spacing to be so consistent that he knows where anyone is at any given time. And while that was good when it worked, when you played good teams in the playoffs, that rigidness made it so teams always knew where they could double from. They always knew where they had to recover to, and it made it easier to turn Joel over and easier to, junk up the offense. Nurse, at least to some extent, has adjusted on that, where there is more back cutting. There is more of an encouragement for movement rather than playing more statically, because it's more about the whole team offense rather than just it's the Joel show and everyone needs to stand in one spot. But that being said, the overall offense is very predictable. We saw that when the game still mattered, They're running the same plays, same 3 to 5 plays over and over and over again. So they need to add some stuff to the playbook. They need to, as we were talking about a little bit yesterday, they need to add some off-ball shooting plays for Paul George, because that, to me, was the biggest crime of this season. They just did not tap into him enough as a spot-up shooter, where he is still, even after that poor season that he had, still, I think, one of the best weapons there as a catch-and-shoot player in the league. I firmly believe that. So there is room for a lot of improvement, and it doesn't need to be, hey, we changed how the game is being played in 2025.
Well, you mentioned Nurse might have a 0.5 offense, but he's got a lot of 3.5 players. So
it is not the group that is best suited to run his offense. I will certainly give him that.
So I did want to bring up, because everybody in the chat is discussing the live bodies from, Marcus is talking about it a little bit in there with the live bodies, or the lack thereof in general. Doug Craig talking about certain things as well with the live bodies, with the health or lack thereof that he didn't have this year. How much do you give him that? The fact that last season we know about the Embiid factor, and then you have this year with both Embiid and George, and then you go from Caleb Martin to KJ Martin, Jared McCain, all of these players that were really important early in the season when things still mattered, couldn't play. How much do you give that to a coach when you watch and see how it goes?
Oh, I mean, listen, I think the number 1, 2, and 3 thing is always your players, right? Are they available? Are they good enough? I am not somebody who, and it's a little different across sports, right? I think football coaches on a play-to-play basis have more of an impact, because there are more discrete decisions that are happening. Whereas in basketball, it's a lot of like, hey, there's just 5 minutes at a time you're playing between timeouts, and you can call plays and you can have a plan, but once they're out there, it's freewheeling and freelancing, and they have a say on the game. So I 100% agree with the sentiment that we see somewhat in the chat and has popped up a lot when we talk about this, which is, it's certainly not all his fault. I don't think he was one of the main reasons that they ended up where they were. It's just, you can't take him out of it. You can't look at how they played and how they failed and say, oh, the coach had no impact on it. And I think to the broader discussion here, it's more that, honestly, in pro sports, and when you're making this type of money at the highest of levels, and it's such a competitive field, it doesn't even matter if it's your fault sometimes. Sometimes there's just going to be a point where somebody's got to get blamed. You got to figure out a way to galvanize the other people. And that was when, at the end of the year, when we said, if this guy's going to lose his job, it's for this reason. It's that they can't trade Joel Embiid. They're likely not going to trade Paul George. And so the most major change you can make right now or at some point in the next year is to get rid of the coach and say, new voice, slightly new system. That's going to be the trick. So if it happens, it's not because I think Nick Nurse is ultimately a bad coach, but it is because he didn't do quite a good enough job to make a case for himself, is what I would say.
Yeah. And a lot of times when we have this conversation of, well, this is just the way the NBA is, I wish it wasn't. Yeah. Honestly, I wish most, and one of my main philosophies with coaches is that unless you're like one of the 5 worst coaches in the league, your impact is generally overstated and you tend to be scapegoated because, like Kyle said, that is the easiest lever for a team to pull. There's no cap constraints in doing so. You don't have to worry about another team making a trade. You just, all right, let's get a different voice in here, see whether or not that can change what's going on. It is just so much easier than any other solution. Doesn't mean it's a high probability solution, but it's the one that GMs take because it has the least amount of downside to it. I'd love some consistency. I do think, certainly throughout Joel Embiid's career, the lack of consistency, and that's in everything from front office to co-stars to role players to coaches, that I think there is something to that. I would love for them to have 2, 3, 4, 5 years of, all right, we're going to continue with the same group, with the same coach, with the same system, get better at it. So many champions, like Denver doesn't win a championship in year 1 of that group. Boston needs years to get to where they are. Comfort, familiarity, being able to anticipate what your coaches or teammates are going to do. I think that matters when you talk about winning at the highest level. you don't really have a long runway. So it's maybe a little less of a concern now than it would have been 5 years ago. But I've always wanted that kind of consistency. That being said, I think when you evaluate it, I don't think he did a good job last year. Does that mean that he is the reason they were bad? No. Does that mean he should be fired? No. But it is, it's just a lot of what I think I'll talk about here is going back to that October, November, December timeframe. Yes, Joel was out, and that was a big thing. But you knew Joel was going to be out for 20-plus games. Best case scenario, you knew you had devised schemes, and they just didn't seem prepared. I think he underachieved. Does that mean he's a problem? No, but I do think he underachieved.
Yeah, and we talked a lot. While we mostly spoke about the offense here throughout the season, we talked a lot about how poor their defense was. And he's still, the head coach, and that has to be better overall. We'll talk about a little thing that we wanted to bring up from our friend from Hoops Hype, Mike Scotto. We'll talk about that and the coaching staff in general on the other side as we hang out with you here on this Thursday. Still the offseason. It's very early. Kyle thought it was already May. I know. Kyle thought it was May already.
I'm talking like it's, summer's almost here. Meanwhile.
We're not used to this. Bear with us. We'll talk about more and some maybe possible coaching staff changes on the other side. We'll get into it right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. All right, Parks Casino. Got to tell you about the good people at Parks Casino. And I got to tell you about, number one, I want to tell you about the Excite Center at Parks Casino because the Excite Center is really cool. I've referenced that, hey, you can go there and you can see some live shows, you can see some comedians, and I bring up the one that really I enjoyed immensely when I was there for a show. Deion Cole, great comedian from Blackish and a ton of movies and having his own specials, Netflix and so on, of his stand-up. Really, really funny. And I had an opportunity to enjoy it at the Excite Center, and that's one of the many things that I love about being at Parks Casino. Parks Casino is Pennsylvania's #1 casino and is so close to Philadelphia, located in Bensalem. All you have to do is take the Street Road exit off of I-95 and the PA Turnpike, and it's right there, right down the road, easy to get to. The Excite Center is the state-of-the-art entertainment venue located inside Parks Casino, named one of the best places to see the country's best comedians, as I mentioned, with Deion Cole and a ton of others. JB Smooth was also there once when I had a chance to see him, and music headliners as well. Visit parkscasino.com to buy tickets for all shows. Pre-game the shows at their amazing beer garden. It's fantastic. It's right out there. It's a beer garden.
Love a good beer garden.
And the fact that you can sit out there, of course, when it's a little chilly, nice sun still coming in. And then in the summer when it's starting to warm up like we're waiting for right now, they'll open the doors and the windows and you can still sit out there. It's very, very comfortable. You can play some pop culture slots, roulette, cards, and other table games that you love while you wait. It's a great place to be at the Excite Center, Parks Casino. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You must be 21 and over. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We also want to tell you about Timeline because the cells in our bodies are the building blocks of life. Timeline is a supplement that works with those cells to help give you more energy, feel stronger during workouts, and preserve health and mobility as you start to age. The patented ingredient in Timeline is Midipure, a postbiotic nutrient that clears out dysfunctional mitochondria, otherwise known as your cell's battery packs. With regular use, you'll see and feel the difference in the form of improved energy levels, better workouts, fast recovery, more endurance, and more. Midipure recharges your cells and helps your body's systems to work better. And Midipure is the only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at the cellular level. So get ready to be the best, most energized, most revitalized version of you. Right now, Timeline is giving you 10% off your first order of Midipure. Go to timeline.com/PHLY today. To get started, that's timeline.com/PHLY.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. I want to tell you about the $36 special we have going on, the intro offer. Bree had it up in the last segment, so I want to make sure that we show it once again. The limited time intro offer of $36 for the special for the Draft Day Live, getting ready for the NFL Draft. I think it's a week from today. Next week it starts, next Thursday. And the Birds have the 32nd overall pick as the Super Bowl champions. But you can jump on in.
You're damn right, Devon.
Intro offer at $36, and you get all the great access to events, Discord, and the great writing from my guys here on the Sixers. Bo, Fran, Zach, Les Bowen on the Eagles. Charlie, they have one game left. You better get ready for a lot of offseason content from Charlie with the Flyers and Jim Salisbury on the Phillies as well. So sign up right now, allphly.com. Become a member. Hang out with us. Become a part of the community. Continue to hang out with us. You get a free T-shirt when you sign up as well. Maybe you want to buy yourself a hoodie that Kyle has on, a hat that Derek has on.
Had a few admirers of this nice PHLY hoodie today.
Easily the best one that we have. Love it.
Look at
And they
that.
have it in black. So if you choose to go with the black hoodie, you can go that way as well. Allphly.com. Drop down for events. Drop down for the merchandise. It's all there for you. Become a member, $36. And when you do that and you become a member, when we talk about the events, you can hang out with us. NBA Draft Lottery Party, May 12th. We'll be there. Rich Hoffman will be there. Bree will be there. And hopefully you sign up when you do, that $36. If you haven't already, become a member. And you have an opportunity to hang out with us. You go get your ticket. Come hang out with us. There'll be food. There will be some drinks as well. Where some Pop-A-Shot, where you can try to take down everybody else here in the office.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It's our rims.
I mean,
man.
the games will happen, but you're not winning.
We know our rims, so we're safe. But anyway, you can take some shots there on the Pop-A-Shot as well. Talk some hoops with us also on that night. That's May 12th, right here at the PHLY studio, and we finally have a date for the Flyers. It's May 5th. The NHL announced it. It's May 5th. And the Flyers team will also have a draft lottery party. That's on May 5th. And that
Maybe we can get back-to-back number one picks for the Flyers. And
back-to-back
Sixers.
number one.
Perfect.
Let's have at it. Let's have at it. So sign up for all of that. Hang out with us here at the PHLY network. It's been a blast, and it's going to continue to be a blast. It's going to be a really important offseason for both the Sixers and the Flyers as well. All right, Kyle, yesterday while we were doing the show, Derek had dropped some stuff in there. We're like, wait a minute, what's going on? And it was from our friend Mike Scotto from Hoops Hype.
Yep.
And he dropped in a little nugget in one of his stories where he was talking about a lot of things going on around the league. And the one thing that Derek had focused on, while Daryl Morey publicly stated he and Coach Nick Nurse are both returning to Philadelphia next season, there's an expectation that Nurse's assistant coaching staff will see some change this offseason, league sources told Hoops Hype. Bobby Jackson,
Rico
Hines, Brian Gates on the staff, and some guys that we know, they're player development guys as well. So just some change in general. While some were happy that, like Doug Craig was saying, change, that's panic when you talk about the head coach. But sometimes, as you mentioned early on, you could see it also in a situation where Memphis with Taylor Jenkins,
Yep.
they flipped his whole assistant coaching staff upside down. We know how that went. But maybe some changes could be happening here.
So that is and I've asked around about this. I have not gotten word yet. So stay tuned on that. Maybe Derek will find out at some point. It is not clear to me if this means Nick Nurse is hiring new guys, like he's dropping people from his staff, or what I think is more likely, given the season that played out and the pressure these guys are under, there are some people being inserted on the staff.
Sure.
Because that is a really important difference, right? And that was what happened in Memphis that we know about, where I don't want to butcher his name because I don't know how to pronounce it, the Finnish coach who was in the EuroLeague. I believe he coached in the German Bundesliga over there, a bunch of different places and won. And as the Grizzlies front office wanted to improve the offense this year, wanted to make some changes to how they played, they essentially handpicked guys and were like, Taylor Jenkins, you have to have these guys on the staff. Now, I don't think that that's a Daryl Morey thing to do, right? Like, I think based on his stance on not firing coaches and backing his coaches, I think he generally is in the perspective of, I hire the coach and he hires his guys, people that he trusts, etc.
Mm-hmm.
It is an interesting development, though, for this to get to a point where it's like, hey, you're only 2 years in as a coach here, and you're going to be shaking up the staff. So I think that is a sign, if nothing else, that this is a staff and a head coach that is going to be under a lot of scrutiny heading into the year. And we'll have to see, who they're looking at, like what type of guy. Are you looking for an innovator, like a young up-and-coming guy? Do you want a more experienced lead assistant, someone who's maybe not gunning for a top job but has, some wisdom to share? I think, frankly, and maybe this is another topic we need to get into before we get out of here, what I would be looking for is someone who can help them iterate on the defense they play, because I think as they got deeper into the year, it became clear that this is a team that needs to have some different styles of defense and not just, hey, we're going to play a 2-3 zone, because I think that overly aggressive forced turnovers style that Nurse likes, that ended up being problematic for this team for a lot of this season.
I will say that the report from Scotto didn't have a ton of meat on it.
Yeah.
But if he's not the one hiring his assistant coaches, then what are we doing here? Like, if you don't trust your coach to hire the assistant, then just rip the Band-Aid off and move on. You have to trust him to do that. That would be wild. I don't think that would be wild if it happened, though.
Yeah, has to. He has to be able to choose his guys. And again, you saw what happened with Taylor Jenkins. They're still in the mix in the playoffs, and things were just out of control all over the place there. Mm-hmm. And you see what happens there. And you mentioned yesterday, it'd be funny to see how the Mavs thing turns out. It'd be funny to see how the Memphis thing turns out as well after they gut Taylor Jenkins, who, by all accounts, is a decent coach. They got along, with things going on there. He didn't. At least I didn't see any. You saw some Phoenix, they lost the locker room. You saw some Denver, he might have lost the locker room a little bit. Didn't see much of he lost the locker room in Memphis. It was just more of it started last summer where you changed a lot of that, and here we are. I'm curious to see how that Memphis thing goes as they take on the Mavs in that Western Conference fight for the 8th
Mavs,
seed.
frankly, looked pretty good last night. Defense was humming against the Kings, who, by the way, we didn't even mention the front office part of the Kings. I brought up the Mike Brown midseason firing, but now they mutually parted ways with their lead executive. So
Monty McNair out after 5 seasons.
Always love a good mutual parting of ways.
Yeah. It's always a good one.
Has there ever been a true mutual parting of ways in any facet of anyone's life?
It's like the Seinfeld episode of it was a mutual breakup.
Yeah, it's like it's not me, or it's not you, it's me, like that thing. It's like there's always somebody
story, man.
Even if it's 51-49, there is always someone who brought it up first, who just gave the gentle shove in the direction. That phrase, mutual parting of ways, always drives me crazy.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if anything comes of this with the coaching staff, where things go. I don't know. I mean, I don't have an opinion one way or another on Rico Hines, Bobby Jackson, or Gates.
I don't like if in all honesty, I think there was more people sticking up for Nurse in today's chat than maybe I was expecting. In part because I think probably the viewership's a little different on a off-season show than maybe an in-game show, or the frustration's just not as fresh.
Yeah.
But if you're going to tell me that Nick Nurse can't really be blamed because of all the injuries, then like the assistant coaches, come on now. We can't scapegoat the assistant coaches.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. Absolutely. So we'll see how it plays out. We'll see where it goes. Any last things on Nurse and his future here and what he needs to do. And we've talked a ton about all of these. Player development wise, Justin Edwards, he was forced into these young guys, Justin Edwards and Dembona. Jared McCain got some run early.
And that's part of the frustration, right? Because it's sort of like with Daryl. The one thing Daryl has done, undeniably well is draft.
Yep.
He doesn't necessarily like keeping the draft picks. Nick Nurse did a good job developing a lot of the young players.
Even at the exit interviews, when the subject of the pick came up, he gave them an out as if it was like they're going to use it, but not as necessarily to draft somebody. And I was like, Daryl, I am telling you, the one thing you absolutely have to do, if you get that pick, make a damn pick. Maybe you trade back a couple spots, and if you don't like the guys there, you trade. Please make the pick, because if you trade out entirely, unless you are getting a bona fide star, people are going to lose their minds.
Yep. Similarly, Nurse did a good job developing the young players. Doesn't seem like he necessarily wants to, had to kind of be forced into it. I appreciate him for embracing it. We'll see whether or not he does a similar thing next year when there are expectations. That Andre Drummond, if he's still on the roster versus Dembona, will be really that battle. I'm using battle in air quotes and very loosely. That will be really telling.
All right. So let's get
battle with the one guy's got like a trebuchet, I think.
Let's get to one Let's knock out the daily spin now,
Okay.
so I won't forget to mention it.
All
The
right.
daily tankathon spin.
We're on it.
I don't know if the tankathon has done theirs for the day, but we're going with Derek's here and what happened. So daily tankathon spin got number 6 yesterday, right?
3.
3.
Hey,
Then I got that. What I think I had 3 spins yesterday.
you did get
I
3
think I
on
had
one of them
6
yesterday.
missed and then 3.
All right. So what you doing with 3, Kyle? We said it yesterday.
Every day I
You-
just go back and forth.
I was gonna say you had an answer yesterday and it was
I
pretty
know.
decisive.
Going ace.
I keep saying I think ace, but I don't feel good about it. And I will probably by the time the draft hits, I'll be back in on it's VJ there. So
Yeah.
it's just there's too much time to think about
You
it.
going VJ?
You got to get me to the playoffs, and then I only have a month and a half to really lock in.
Yeah.
on all
going
that.
No,
VJ?
I'm still going VJ.
Going VJ. I'm going ace. So me and Kyle right here, same. You don't love it. I feel a little bit better, but I'm going ace. I can feel comfortable saying ace today at number 3. So we'll do our daily tankathon spin again tomorrow, Friday, and we keep it going until we find out what happens with the NBA draft lottery on May 12th, where all of you will be hanging out with us as well.
That is like that would be real interesting. We talk a lot about trading back with like 5 or 6.
What if he gets like
If
3?
somebody, if a GM in the league like completely overvalues ace and
I'm the
completely
ace
bought
guy,
in,
and I want to get
Yeah.
there. Like
At
let's
3?
say Charlotte
Yeah.
dropped
Yeah.
multiple picks.
and that would be tough for me to pass up on VJ because I do think like his floor I think is really high, but man, I think there might be one GM that's just completely bought in on ace.
I'm trying to think of a scenario of like who's the team that would be like, man, ace bit. Actually,
I just don't see Charlotte though. I mean, it's a good example.
no, you
just
know
because
what? I know the exact scenario.
New Orleans.
The Sixers move up to 3. The Pelicans drop like 3 slots. So they're at what, 7 at that point? The Pelicans under Joe Dumars' new stewardship.
Splash.
I could absolutely see being now I have to do the real GM picks ode. What picks do the Pelicans have? They just traded for DeJounte Murray,
Yes.
so they gave up some
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah.
But then they have
They did the Brandon Ingram.
Brandon Ingram return. Okay, let's see. The Pelicans own.
Would you want a player back, Derek, while Kyle?
Oh, they have a lot of their future picks. All right, so let's say the Pelicans are at 7. Sixers
All
are at 3.
Okay.
I'm
Pelicans
trading
say
back.
the Pelicans say we'll give you 7 and a top 5 protected
Do it.
2029.
Oh,
29.
all right, that's pretty far away.
That's what I'm saying. So they own 2025 and I think Milwaukee's. I don't know what these picks are from.
Yeah, I don't want Milwaukee's.
They own a swap with Milwaukee in 26.
So that means that they, like that could be, you could get theirs.
Yeah. So let's just say 2029 or 2028. Your pick of the year.
I would
Top 5 protected
sooner
plus the
rather
7.
than later.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Sooner
You're doing
rather than
it?
later. Yeah, I will go back to 7. There's enough guys that we've talked about at 7, and then we brought up CMB and Con Knipple yesterday.
Okay.
Maybe at 7 you feel better. Plus you get
Now,
the
if they trade it, I think top 5 protected be pretty ambitious. I think more than likely you get like a top 10 protected, maybe a lottery
I
protected.
mean, look, if you love ace, you got to give me something. I need that top 5.
That's true. And look, 4 spots, especially to get to the top 3, is a meaningful gap, right? Like that's a
What was the protection on? Because the Sixers traded 3 and another. What was it? Not the Lakers. Was it the Lakers pick?
it's the one that became Romeo Langford, right?
Yeah.
In the
I forget
Celtics
what that
trade you're talking
protection
about.
was. Yeah,
I don't remember the exact what pick it was. I just know it became Romeo Langford.
All right. Good
Anyway,
work. Good work.
little
You just put
hypothetical
together,
trade.
Yeah, just put together the trade right there. Yeah, number 3 overall pick. See where it goes from there. That would be fun once we find out what happens on May 12th. All right, before we get out of here, since we have a few more minutes, let's go to a couple of who's that guy? Bree.
Oh no.
But we did it differently here, Kyle and Derek and
no.
everybody out there. Not active players.
Oh no.
Rebuild Sixers from that era before Joel Embiid took over.
Okay.
So let's see some of the names that you remember from covering those teams. Bree, let's do first. Who's that guy right there. This is
that's an easy one. Thomas Robinson.
All right. Thomas Robinson.
I loved him coming out of Kansas.
I
he's
thought
so
that
good.
was like, oh man, they could have gotten a big
the
steal.
next Antonio McDyess, I thought.
Yeah, Marcus Morris and the Twins. That's their guy. He's part of the FOE family, Thomas Robinson.
Honestly, if you would have played like 15 years earlier, I think he might have been pretty good.
Yeah. You had to think about that one for a second.
Yeah.
Was it just more of your...
I
know
I
what
was
that
looking
is.
at
Something
something
the
to
number,
trigger
and I
it,
was
you know?
like,
Yeah. So that was a
Oh,
good
and
one.
part of my problem is I'm awful with numbers. We've had this discussion
Yes.
before. I'm awful with jerseys.
meanwhile,
Yes.
the number king. Over
I'm the
here.
number king.
Devon's like Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind. John Nash, just like, the numbers are coming from everywhere.
By Zach
Without the
Galifianakis.
schizophrenia, though.
Thank you. All right, let's get to them. Let's get to the second one, Bree, as we
Are we
run
sure?
through this one. Process edition. Who's that guy?
This is gonna annoy me so much
I knew I could get you guys on.
because like the
some of
moment
these.
you bring it up, I'm gonna remember like 14 random facts about him.
Yeah.
Well, it's number 9.
So
I know it's not Anderson.
And it's not Jakar Sampson.
Yeah, I know. Obviously,
Okay.
point car.
Yeah, point guard. I
great
was so
game.
mad when they did that. I was like, just you got a point guard. What are you doing? All right. You're thinking. Yeah.
I have a guess. I don't think it's him, though. Is it Sonny Weems? Oh!
That is one hell of a pull.
Former Raptor,
Now-
Sonny Weems. Was
I
it
saw my guy typing a little bit,
Sonny
but that's
Weems?
fine.
I was
That's
like,
fine.
was Sonny Weems Florida State?
I don't remember.
All right. Just by the way, thoughts and prayers to people at Florida State with the
Seriously.
oh, yeah.
yeah.
I
just,
need to read up on that. That was
Yeah,
a
but just
very-
wanted to say that as we have fun in Sonny Weems and all of that. But Toronto Raptors, Sonny Weems, he was part of the rebuild era. Was Sonny Weems Florida State?
I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay. All right. That was just
Arkansas.
Arkansas. All right. Good call. Sonny Weems.
That was honestly really impressive.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember
I
the
was
Sonny
thinking,
Weems
I was
Sixers
like-
era much at all.
James Anderson,
Yeah.
Jakar Sampson. I was like, there's someone in the middle.
He played 7 games for the Sixers.
Man. What do you got, Bree? Who's number 3 on the Who's That Guy?
Oh, I'll give that one to Derek.
You know,
I'm sure I do, but who is
the big guy.
big guy?
Yeah. Yep.
Big guy.
He's a front court player,
Sure.
forward, center.
I know it. So if
Go
you
ahead.
want me,
I'm blanking.
BJ Mullins.
Byron
Oh,
Mullins.
yeah.
Yeah.
I probably forgot.
Did he go by BJ? I'm trying to.
No, he went by BJ.
He went by BJ.
He was what with the Warriors before.
Yeah,
that, right?
Byron BJ Mullins.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure I wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand him. That's maybe,
Yeah,
maybe I just blocked
he-
him out. I
he
couldn't
is
stand him
like-
at all.
The poor man Spencer Hall.
Yeah.
Big time. Maybe they thought that too, and that's why they
Wow.
did it. Who you got,
Byron
Bree?
Mullins. I haven't thought of that in so long.
I'm glad she didn't show the number on this one because I think it would give it away. Good call, Bree. You guys know this dude, man.
Oh, I know all of them. I just have blocked them out in the past.
First round
decade.
pick.
First round pick for the Sixers.
Yep.
Oh, I know who it is.
Well, then fucking say it.
Arnett Moultrie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pre-process though.
He was
That
on.
was Doug Collins.
He was on the list though. He was still.
All right,
Yeah, he was
all
on the
right.
list. So
That was
I
Doug
put him
Collins.
in there.
Didn't they give up like 2 picks for him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like
brutal.
24 or
He
something
was
like
brutal.
that. He was awful.
Mississippi State. I think he was. I think.
You know, I feel good that I didn't trauma block all these
Oh,
players out
I
of my
trauma
brain.
blocked a lot of them.
All right, let's get one more in Bree before we lose the people on fast.
Arnett
Do we have one more so we can throw in there for the rebuild edition? Oh.
Oh, I don't think I know this one.
Number 7.
This was literally the only picture, I
That's
swear,
fine.
of him in a Sixers uniform.
That's
So
fine. All right, let's
crazy.
see. Let's see.
Oh,
Adonis
Thomas.
Thomas. Man,
Yeah.
I would not have gotten that one.
Yeah. Good
I was
one.
going to guess the guys whose names I remember, but don't remember their face, like Vander Blue.
what was that group with MCW, Vanderblue, Tony Roten, and who
Oh,
else?
the rap group.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was also. By the way, everybody on Fast. It was Khalif Wyatt was the other one.
Okay.
Everybody on Fast. We thank you for watching on the TV channel. Hope you enjoyed. Who's That Guy? The rebuild edition for the Sixers. Come on over to allphly.com to finish the PHLY Sixers podcast. So yeah, WAP. It was something.
Yeah,
WAP.
something
Team
like
WAP.
that.
Team
Yeah.
WAP.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Khalif Wyatt was part of it. Yeah. All of that.
Adonis Thomas.
Adonis Thomas. Do you like that one better than the other one where we throw some?
Oh yeah, no, well, because there's like real memories attached to him. You just got to like rattle the brain
Not
a little
good
bit
ones,
to get him back.
but memories all
Yeah.
the same.
Well, Bree has a whole list, so we may revisit this one.
Adonis Thomas.
Where she's done a great job as always putting those.
It's just like you bring up like Adonis Thomas. Like I haven't looked at that guy's face in a decade,
Oh,
so
no.
it's like this is gonna take
If you
some
just
time to
I could
reshuffle.
probably, if you had just said name process Sixers, he would be lower down the list, but I would have eventually
gotten
named
to him.
him.
Yeah.
But saying that's him, you
recognition?
need to know that specific guy.
Yeah.
No shot in hell.
All
Just
right.
none.
All right, so that's the
Arnett, I hated Arnett Moultrie
me
so
too.
much as a player.
Me too.
Oh.
Me too. All right, so that is the rebuild edition of Who's That Guy? We still have some other Who's That Guy of current players for these rosters in the NBA of the 30 teams. We'll run some of those
Good
throughout,
job, Bree.
throughout the offseason as well, and now with the rebuild Sixers as well. So we hope you like that. A couple of news and notes, as Kyle mentioned with the Sacramento changes. We also have that they are looking at, and it looks like it's going to happen, where Scott Perry, former executive for like 25 years in the NBA, former executive of the New York Knicks, he's going to take that over. So another retread going to Sacramento. I don't get it, but they do, because that's a quick hire that they're not even messing around. And the question is, what's going on with Doug Christie for the Sacramento Kings as the head coach? We'll find out soon enough. The other one, Damian Lillard, it appears, according to Shams, is cleared of his deep vein thrombosis, will still miss game 1 versus Indiana, and has to get back into basketball shape to play in the playoffs against the Pacers, but he is cleared. Kyle talked about it a little bit earlier, where it's like, really?
I almost like don't trust him.
Right.
It's like that just seems like an insanely, but
Yeah.
obviously if that is the case, and doctors certainly
Good
know
for
better
him.
than I am, good for him, and we're happy that he's healthy. Just hope they're not taking any unnecessary risks for
Yeah.
as important as playoff basketball is to
They're
me.
not winning.
It is not a life or death situation.
Yep. So games weren't competitive last night. The Heat destroyed the Bulls in the 9-10 matchup in the East, and the
The
Mavs,
Josh Giddey experience
Handled.
is over.
the Kings in their matchup also, and Monty McNair gets fired after the game. So
No, Devon. There was a mutual
mutual
parting.
parting of ways. You're right. I'm sorry. Thank you for clearing that up for me. And
They have agreed they need to go their separate ways.
I see.
But one person kept the house, the dog, the kids, and everything else. So
Yeah.
very mutual.
Yeah. Quick turnaround there.
They traded
Scott Perry.
They traded Arnett Moultrie 2 weeks into his second year of his 4-year rookie scale contract. He never played another game.
Yep. He was so bad.
Done.
So bad. Great college
They gave
player.
up 2 picks for him.
So bad. So bad.
That was the real killer, right? If you just smoked the pick, that's one thing. Giving up multiple picks to specifically take him, boy,
Yeah. Not good.
That was the same. That was the Bynum summer, right?
Yeah.
what a year.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. All right.
Wait, no, wasn't the Bynum summer the Harkless draft?
How could you be Mo
Harkless.
Harkless?
And
Could you be
I think
Mo
I think they had 2
Richardson
picks in
was
that
in
draft.
trade.
I think they had Mo
Was that
Harkless.
it?
Mo was a pick that they had, and I think they traded
Or-
for.
I
Arnett.
just know that they
Harkless was
coincided. I just
Yeah.
don't
He
know.
was like teens,
like
right?
lottery.
Yeah.
Lottery. Harkless was lottery. Moultrie was in the 20s.
Yeah, Moultrie was 27.
Yeah, you might be right. I associate
Yeah.
that summer with.
Mo Harkless was the 15th pick in that draft, and then Moultrie was 27.
There you go. Good
Yep.
call.
Yep. All right. Let's get to the by the
Nostalgia
way,
hour is over.
by the way, make sure you check out the PHLY Flyers pre and post game tonight. It's the final game of the season as they take on the Buffalo Sabres. Final game of the year for the Flyers. So make sure you check them out later. It's time to get to
Flyers
the world famous,
gang, I'm happy for you.
world famous roll call.
Oh, I was waiting for the graphic. I was like, uh-oh. What went wrong? Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us.
Yes.
First shout out of the show goes to the one, the only, Adonis Thomas. Adonis,
Oh,
thank
man.
you for being part of the show
Got
today.
to get him on the show.
No
Adonis.
thanks to Arnett Moultrie.
I would have Adonis on the show before Arnett. Absolutely.
I would happily have Adonis
Absolutely.
Thomas on the show. Thank you to Doug Craig, to Money Mar.
What up, Doug?
To Jess with the Purple Heart.
Got the purple
to
heart.
Eugene Ross checking in. It's been absent for a couple
What
of
up,
days.
Gene? He had to
saying
escape.
he's on Do Not Disturb, no notifications. Buddy, you know what time the show is on. This isn't your first day. Get your act together, sir. No, good to see you, buddy. Rick Morse, good to see you.
Ricky.
Mary Overfield.
Hey, Mary.
Aaron, Mom's
What up,
grandchildren.
Aaron?
What's up, Mom? My girl Winona. We got Sean Ford, SB Cole, Jeffrey Stewart.
What up, Jeff?
Bootzilla.
Boots.
Austin Krell gets a little bit of free promo today. Look at him
Calling
go.
out the Harkless deal.
Not if it was me.
How could you be Mo Harkless? Kyle Samuelson, thank you for checking in.
What up, Kyle?
I think we had a Kyle Wright here also. All the Kyles here today.
All over.
No Kyle Lowry, though.
Get him on
We
the
need
show.
people who can beat people off the dribble. So, INS, good to see you. Mellow 3-point.
What up, Mello?
Good to see you as always. Yams, very lively in the chat as always.
Always.
Val, thank you, Val.
We're
And
going to have
Val
some veggie food for you, Val.
We're
Got
working
you.
on it. And Val said she wants to
Vince.
get one of these sweatshirts so
Yep.
we can be matching in the
Okay.
future. Jesse Bond, Neil Deaver.
What up, Neil?
Neil, there is a Jokic article I need you to read where they basically say he has echolocation. That's a type of propaganda that you can get behind over there. I'm just teasing, buddy. Good to see you.
Are you teasing about the article or about him reading it?
Both. M. So James
Shocking.
Bonds,
The
M.
propaganda network is full force.
Thank you, everyone who was here and stopped by at some point today.
Yes.
If you're still here, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live, and hit the thumbs up button to say thank you, super producer Bree,
The
for
best.
holding it down always, but definitely during the Who's That Guy segment, because what would we do without Bree? Getting the graphics, pulling up the big names.
100%.
Perfectly done, Bree. We will see you guys again tomorrow, Friday,
you guys
3
will-
p.m.
You guys would lock down all the regular faces, right? That's why we
I
didn't.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, that's why we didn't.
We'll
So-
see you at 3 p.m., guys. Goodbye.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.